Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
You know baseball free agency has officially gone off the rails when you wake up, check your phone, and the Toronto Blue Jays' entire winter plan looks like it's been picked up, shaken violently, and dropped back onto the table in a completely different order. If you thought things were simmering before, forget that. The pot has boiled over, the lid has rattled off, and now the Blue Jays are standing in the kitchen deciding whether this ends in a feast or a full-blown disaster. Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, because things have just got very real. This story begins with a door slamming shut somewhere in Chicago, and that door has Alex Bregman's name engraved on it in bold lettering. 5 years, $175 million, and suddenly the Cubs have landed one of the biggest bats of the winter. That sound you heard wasn't just a signing notification, it was the market shifting beneath everyone's feet. Bregman didn't come to Toronto, and he didn't stay in Boston either, but his decision has sent shockwaves straight through the Blue Jays' plans, and the ripple effects are already being felt across the American League East. For the Blue Jays, Bregman was never just a name on a list. He was a benchmark, a measuring stick for value, leverage, and desperation. $35 million a year is serious money, the kind of money that makes front offices sit back and stare at the ceiling. Toronto had flirted with the idea, weighed it up, and ultimately stepped away, especially after securing Kazuma Okamoto at a far more palatable number. From that perspective, the Jays didn't lose. But baseball isn't played in isolation, and while Toronto stepped back, Boston stepped forward, not towards Bregman, but towards something far more unsettling. Because almost immediately after Bregman put pen to paper, a report dropped that should make every Blue Jays fan sit upright in their chair. The Boston Red Sox, having now lost both Rafael Devers and Alex Bregman within a year, are reportedly turning their full attention to Bo Bichette. Not monitoring. Not keeping tabs. Going all in. And that, right there, is where this entire off-season pivots from intriguing to terrifying. Bo Bichette is not just another free agent. He is homegrown, beloved, flawed, brilliant, and deeply intertwined with the Blue Jays' identity. The thought of him in Fenway Park colors feels wrong on a fundamental level, like seeing a lighthouse uprooted and planted in enemy territory. Yet here we are, staring down a nightmare scenario where a division rival, desperate for star power and relevance, throws everything they have at him. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, take a moment to like the video, share it with a fellow Jays fan, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, because this story is far from finished. What makes this even more unsettling is the timing. Bregman was one of the final major position players anchoring the market. With him gone, the spotlight swings violently onto Bo Bichette. The Red Sox have missed, they've bled talent, and now they're hunting. The Phillies are lurking too, sharpening their checkbook in the background. Meanwhile, Toronto has been relatively quiet, and in free agency, silence is never neutral. It's either calm before brilliance or calm before regret. Then, just as you're processing that, the Yankees step onto the stage and knock over another domino. Late-night reports emerge that negotiations between the Yankees and Cody Bellinger have hit an impasse. Not stalled. Not slowed. An impasse. The Yankees, who many assumed would simply bring Bellinger back without much fuss, are now reportedly operating under the assumption that he will sign elsewhere. And when the Yankees assume something, the rest of the league pays attention. This is where things get fascinating, because suddenly the entire outfield market begins to contort. If Bellinger walks, and if he lands with the Mets or the Dodgers, that removes a major competitor from the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. And Kyle Tucker, of course, sits at the very heart of Toronto's external ambitions. The Blue Jays have not been subtle here. They've recruited. They've whispered. They've nudged. Even George Springer has been spotted playing the role of unofficial ambassador. Tucker isn't just a target, he's a statement. The beauty, and the terror, of this moment is that everything feels interconnected. One move nudges another, which squeezes a third, and suddenly the Jays might find themselves in a surprisingly favorable position. If Boston locks onto Bichette, if New York loses Bellinger to the National League, and if the Dodgers or Mets soak up one of those big bats, Toronto's path to Tucker becomes clearer. Narrower, yes, but clearer. And sometimes clarity is all a front office needs. But baseball free agency has a nasty habit of lying to your face. We've seen this movie before. Last year, remember the reports that the Mets were out on Pete Alonso, only for him to stroll back at a discount days later? Leverage games are played in public now, through carefully worded leaks and strategic silences. Scott Boras and Brian Cashman are practically boxing through the media, and when those two start swinging, nothing is ever as straightforward as it seems. Still, the pressure is undeniable. Ross Atkins is standing at a crossroads, and every fan can feel it. The Blue Jays have already made significant improvements this off-season. Pitching depth has been addressed. The bullpen has been reinforced. Okamoto adds intrigue and balance. On paper, this is a better team than last year. But paper doesn't stop your star shortstop from wearing Red Sox in October. Because let's be brutally honest. If Bo Bichette signs with the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays fail to land Kyle Tucker, this off-season will forever carry an asterisk. It won't be a failure, but it won't be a triumph either. It will be remembered as the winter Toronto improved everywhere except the place that mattered most. Losing a homegrown star to a division rival isn't just a roster move, it's an emotional wound that lingers. That's why the Bregman deal matters so much. Not because Toronto missed out, but because it inflated expectations across the board. $35 million a year resets conversations. It emboldens agents. It sharpens demands. Suddenly, Bo Bichette's camp can look at that deal and start whispering numbers north of $200 million, maybe even $250. Different players, different positions, but perception is powerful currency in free agency. And yet, there is still a sense that this could break Toronto's way. The Yankees, for all their bravado, are clearly cautious. Their spending patterns suggest restraint, not recklessness. Boston is desperate, yes, but desperation can lead to overreach. The Phillies are competitive, but not limitless. Somewhere in this chaos, the Blue Jays may find their opening, that brief moment when decisiveness trumps noise. As if that wasn't enough, there are smaller ripples forming too. Reports suggest Detroit is sniffing around starting pitchers like Chris Bassett, another reminder that depth arms are becoming increasingly valuable. It's unlikely Bassett returns to Toronto given the rotation surplus, but his name popping up signals something important. The market is moving. The dam is cracking. Once one big name falls, the rest tend to follow quickly. And that's where we are now. On the edge. The floodgates are beginning to creak open, and the next few days could define the Blue Jays' competitive window for years. Bo Bichette could sign. Kyle Tucker could be prized loose. Or the worst-case scenario could unfold, leaving Toronto staring at what might have been. If you've stuck with me this far, you're exactly the kind of fan this channel is for. Make sure you like the video, share it with anyone who bleeds Blue Jays blue, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report for daily, in-depth coverage as this story unfolds. Because whether this ends in celebration or heartbreak, one thing is certain. The calm is gone. The stakes are sky high. And the Toronto Blue Jays are officially on the clock.